Ever feel like just a small group carries the weight on a team project?
Yeah.
Super frustrating, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it turns out there might be an explanation for this.
Oh, bro.
It's called Price's Law. And it basically says the square root of the number of people on a team are the ones doing half the work.
Interesting.
So today, we're going to do a deep dive into this.
Okay, sounds good.
We found this fascinating point of view document from Valoria, this Romanian management consulting company.
Mm.
And they argue that if we understand this law, it could really change how teams function, maybe even boost your own productivity.
Well, that's a big claim.
It is a big claim. So to start off, who is this Derek Price guy anyway? The document mentions he wasn't a management expert.
No, not at all. Derek J.D. Solar Price was actually a British physicist
Hmm?
and a historian of science, too.
Interesting combination.
Yeah, very unusual. He basically pioneered this whole field called scientometrics.
Scientometrics.
Yeah, basically studying how knowledge spreads. They're not just about slackers in the office then.
So this imbalance is actually baked into how we, create knowledge itself.
Exactly. Think about it. You know how much information is out there these days.
Yeah.
It can be so overwhelming. Well, scientometrics helps us understand why that is. His book from the 1960s, Little Science, Big Science, people still read it today because it touches upon this concentration of productivity. His insights apply way beyond just academia.
Okay, so how does his law actually work, like in a company setting?
Well, Price's law states that the square root of the number of people on a team, that's about how many are responsible for like half of the total productivity. So if we use Valoria's example of a 100-person company, only about 10 people are really the heavy lifters.
Whoa, only 10%.
Yeah, it is a pretty small number.
That's wild.
But it's really important to remember it's not about judging people, saying some people are worth more than others. It's just recognizing a pattern. And this pattern seems to exist everywhere. Like in science, a few big breakthroughs shape entire fields. Well, it's often a smaller group that drives the most important work in a company, too.
But if it's so common, why haven't we heard of Price's Law before?
Well, Valoria, they suggest that maybe it's because we, as a society, love this idea of equality.
Right, everyone's equal.
And admitting that some people are just more productive, well, that can be hard to swallow,
Yeah, it's almost taboo to talk about it. We're supposed to pretend everyone contributes equally. Even when it's just obviously not true. But what if that's actually holding teams back?
It very well could be. That's the question Valoria is trying to get us to think about. What if we could actually make things better by acknowledging this natural imbalance?
Okay, so what are the benefits then of actually embracing Price's Law?
Well, let's imagine you're one of those high performers. You're always carrying the weight. You're feeling burnt out because you're picking up everyone else's slack.
Yeah.
Right. So if companies recognize these key people and support them,
Yeah.
they can help prevent that burnout and foster this culture where those people feel appreciated, working smarter, not harder.
Okay, I get that. But wouldn't that make the other team members resentful? Wait, why does Sarah get all this special treatment and I'm stuck doing the same old stuff?
That's a good point, and that's why it has to be done carefully. You need to have really clear communication and be transparent about everything. It's not about making those high achievers happy at the expense of everyone else. It's about making the whole team better.
So it's not about making the stars happy, but making the team more effective. Maybe those top performers, their expertise, the way they work, maybe that could spread to others and everyone gets better.
Exactly. It could raise the bar for everybody.
Okay, but is there any actual proof that this works?
Oh, yeah. Valoria actually cites a Harvard Business Review study. And they found that when companies recognize and support their top performers, the team's overall performance goes way up.
So there's actually data behind this.
Oh, yeah. It's not just some feel-good theory. There's data to back it up.
Okay, that's pretty convincing. But how do you put this into practice? I mean, you can't just walk into a meeting and be like, all right, you five, you're the square root, everyone else go home.
Well, of course not. It's not about creating some elite club or making anyone feel bad. It's about managing your team in a smart, strategic way.
Okay, so what are the steps?
Well, Valoria suggests that the first thing you got to do is identify who those high performers actually are. And you have to do it fairly. Use clear metrics, do regular evaluations.
Mm-hmm.
The whole process needs to be totally transparent. No playing favorites. You need a clear definition so there aren't any arguments about it.
So you're saying no playing favorites?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
It has to be about recognizing who's actually contributing the most. And once you know who your top performers are, then you got to give them the support they need.
Okay, what kind of support?
It really depends on the person. Maybe they need more challenging assignments or access to training and development. Maybe they need a mentor, or maybe they need more freedom to make decisions on their own.
So remove obstacles and let them do their thing.
Exactly. You're tailoring that support to fit each individual.
Okay, so identify them, support them. What else?
Valoria also says it's really important to build your teams around those high performers. Create structures where they can use their skills and their leadership to help guide the other team members.
So you're not just giving them more to do, you're using their strengths to make the whole team better.
Exactly. But keep in mind, Price's Law, it's not some rigid rule you have to follow all the time. Think of it more like a framework for understanding how your team works.
So you adapt it depending on the team and what they're working on.
Exactly. And even if you're not one of those top performers in the square root, understanding how this dynamic works can help you navigate your workplace a lot better. You can see how your work fits in, and you can learn from the people who are really excelling.
Okay, so we started with this obscure law from physics, and now we're talking about all this practical stuff about teamwork and leadership. Who knew?
It's pretty fascinating, right?
It really is. So if even science has this imbalance built in, this idea that a smaller group is really driving things forward, how can we use that to our advantage? How can we stop pretending it doesn't exist?
That is the question.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's something for all of us to think about as we keep going. It's crazy how a physics concept can tell us so much about teams and how companies are structured.
Right, like this hidden rule about how we work together. But here's what I've been wondering. If we focus too much on this square root idea, what about everyone else on the team? Won't they feel like left out or even resentful if they aren't the chosen few?
Yeah, I see what you mean. And that's why you got to be careful when you're using Price's Law. You have to be sensitive. It's not about saying, okay, these people are valuable, everyone else not so much. Even Price himself wasn't saying the rest of the team is useless.
Right, right. So it's more about acknowledging that not everyone is going to be a superstar. People contribute in different ways.
Exactly. Some people might not be the big idea people, but they're essential to getting things done. And that's where good leadership comes in. You have to create an environment where everyone feels valued, no matter what they're doing.
Okay, so how do you actually do that? You're recognizing the high achievers, but not making everyone else feel like second-class citizens.
Honestly, I think communication is key. You have to be open about how you're evaluating performance, how you're deciding who gets what resources. Everyone needs to understand how their role contributes to the team's success.
So no more like secret bonuses for the top performers while everyone else gets a pizza party.
Well, you definitely want to make sure rewards match people's contributions, but you have to make sure it's fair. It should feel equitable to the whole team. Celebrate successes together, but also acknowledge individual achievements.
That makes sense. It's like, yeah, you need star players, but you also need a good team to back them up. You can't win a championship with just a handful of superstars.
Exactly. And a good team means everyone has a role to play. Everyone is contributing to the success. Even the small stuff matters. Recognizing that and valuing it is crucial for keeping everyone motivated.
This reminds me of something Valoria mentioned, this idea of building support structures within the team. What do they mean by that?
They were basically saying you can organize teams in a way that takes advantage of the high performer's strengths to help everyone.
Oh.
So, for example, maybe top performer mentors or coaches, some of the other team members, they share their knowledge and expertise to help everyone improve their skills.
So it's like a ripple effect. The talent at the top spreads throughout the team.
Exactly. And it's a win-win. The high performers get to share what they know and develop their leadership skills. And everyone else gets valuable guidance and support. It creates a more collaborative and supportive team environment.
Yeah, I like that. It's way less about hierarchy and more about everyone working together.
Definitely. And it's more sustainable over time. If you create a culture of learning and development, you're not relying on just a few people to carry the load. You're creating a team where everyone has the chance to reach their full potential.
So it's not just about spotting the stars, it's about creating a whole constellation where everyone can shine.
I like that. That's a great way to put it. And that's the real takeaway from Price's Law. It's not about creating divisions. It's about understanding how people work together so you can build better, more effective, more fulfilling teams.
I'm really starting to see how this law, which seemed kind of obscure at first, can actually be so useful. It's like a secret code for figuring out how teams work and how to get the best out of them. But let's step back for a second and think about the individual. What about the person who's listening to this and thinking, okay, but what if I'm not in that square root? What if I'm just average? Does that mean I'm stuck being a cog in the machine?
That's a great question. And I'm sure a lot of people are probably thinking the same thing. First of all, remember that being a top performer can mean different things in different situations. It really depends on the work, the industry, the specific team.
So what? You could be a rock star in one job and then just like average in another one.
Exactly. And even on the same team, people are going to have different skills, different strengths. Not everyone can be the best at everything.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. So even if you aren't the one having all the big ideas or making the big deals, you can still be valuable to the team.
Absolutely. And remember, with Price's Law, we're not trying to put labels on people. It's about understanding a dynamic.